I hope everybody ate till their stomachs were about to rip open. I did. Had so much turkey, brownies, and ice cream. I passed out around 8:30, 9 o'clock from overeating. Had some good football games, some surprising games, an enjoyable day of football and eating. So I hope you had a similar experience with your family or those you love. So I'm going to get into positive stuff if you're in the flavor of the Dolphins winning a game. Some people, and to be fair, they're not really too excited about McDaniel, Tua, the direction of the team. They want the best pick that they can get, and so a win is kind of like a loss, and I get it to a certain extent. But this week is a clear win for the Dolphins, unless, and unfortunately they do it on occasion, wet the bed, roll in it, and then have a bunch of guys come in and wet the bed too, and it's got to be a disaster. And it's got to start with McDaniel. If McDaniel is sensible, he doesn't get overly fixated on the run game and doesn't forget about the run game for long stretches, the Dolphins are going to win. I'm going to show you a bunch of information and stats. It's pretty clear. It's not as much of a cakewalk, I think, as maybe some are viewing it, because his defense can play pretty good. And they have some potency on offense, not a lot. Shuck, who I liked in leading up to the draft, he's a young guy, and he's got some strengths and issues. But this defense could make it something if McDaniel has his brain fart, which we know that he does, and the players maybe screw up. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a solid win. Dolphins will move to 5-7 on the season. Now, they're going to need to win 10 games to go to the playoffs. So, but it's one step forward. So I really think that when you look at the information here, you'll agree with me. This is going to be a win. And if it's not, it might be a setting where you fire McDaniel because everything's in their favor. They're coming off the bye week. So let's look at the last 3 weeks. When you look at stats and information, teams may make such big changes over the season that when you're doing a macro view as you head towards the end of the season, sometimes things aren't as indicative. When you do the broad all game rankings, for me, I like to do the last 3 weeks because that tells you a lot about where they are now. So this is the last 3 weeks on offense. Miami offense, 12th best in the league, 337. New Orleans, 24th, 301. Not a big, only 36 yards, but those yards make a difference. Pass yards, let me get it. The purple means there's a strong deviation towards the Dolphins side. And then the red would be a strong deviation towards the opponent or towards the Dolphins. Green means they're roughly generally the same. So pass yards, 18th, 187. New Orleans a little bit better, 13th, 215. A decent amount of yards, but nothing to really fixate on. Rush yards, though, look at the Dolphins. Oh, man. I'm not a big believer in McDaniel. I got to see a lot about the direction of this team, but I love this. First in the league, 151. And if you don't think that's played a major part in winning games, and it doesn't play a major part in all teams winning games these days, then you're crazy. And then you look at New Orleans, it's almost half, 27th, 86. Big piece of the puzzle. This deviation right here, if McDaniel feeds it, it is going to be a major separation between these two teams, and I think it will drive success. Now, points. All right, so there's a little bit of a point swing, 24th, 17 points per game, which sucks. But when you look at New Orleans, they're only putting 12 points a game, which is 31st. That's a 5-point swing. And then when you add in the defense, I'll get into in a moment, it really looks like, from a point standpoint, that's a major piece of the puzzle next to, obviously, turnovers. Dolphins have a huge advantage. time of possession. Now, this is interesting. Dolphins are number 1 in rush yards, but time of his possession, 25th, 28 minutes. And in New Orleans, 29th, 27.5. So something's not jiving, and I think a lot of that has to do with McDaniel going through long stretches where he forgets to run the football for quarters, and then he figures it out, and then he forgets it. So if he could figure this thing out, I think this would go up and be a major piece to the puzzle for the Dolphins having the advantage. Now, last 3 weeks of defense, again, the same color coding. Defensive yards allowed, Dolphins 26, 364. New Orleans 11, 305. I got to check the opponents. I guess that's got to be a major factor. But this could be a little bit of a thing because New Orleans has some good pieces and they play pretty decently. I mean, only allowing 305 is a good number. Dolphins, not so great, 22nd, 228. New Orleans, 7th and only 183. So that can play a part right there. Now the Dolphins, rush yards allowed, 25th, 136. New Orleans, 20th, 121. Sort of, they're very similar. It's the pass yards that really separates things. And then points, Dolphins 5th, 18 points over the last 3 games. And New Orleans, 12th. 22. Now, it's 4 points. I put the red there because it is a field goal. It's over a field goal, and that's a big piece of the puzzle. I mean, that's a lot. So, Dolphins pass yards per game, 22nd, 228, which is not good. And surprisingly, New Orleans is 8th with 183 per game. And that's a big piece of the puzzle, why they only have 305 yards per game. Both teams are kind of giving up the same in the rush yards. So this is a big piece of the puzzle. Obviously, Dolphins want to pass. They haven't been passing, but this could be a little bit of a tough week for them passing. So it really is going to come back to McDaniel making sure the Dolphins' D is fresh. By running that football, getting the time of possession. But they're going to also have to pass too because New Orleans, while they are doing pretty good in the stat line, they do have some issues with their coverage. So McDaniel's going to have to be bound, get some key play actions to keep their defense, which is a little bit of a strength for this team, on the field to wear them out. So let's take a look at this one. You can see the PFF matchups. It's just something to take a look at. Again, don't worry about the grades so much. But the 2 keys for them is Davis, who's one of the best linebackers in the league. He's really good at pass, really good in coverage, not so great at the blitz. And Young, holy cow, he was, the man from the draft disappeared, and he's finding his way again. He's playing lights out, both pass and run. It'll be interesting to see who they put him against, which side of the ball. He can cause problems with stunts where you can get crosses, and then he'll have to go against maybe Savanier. He's got the speed to do the in and out on Paul. It'll be a very interesting matchup between these 2 guys. But those are the 2 keys. Now, if you look at the success of all these guys, it's a better run defense as far as production. So it's odd that their run defense isn't better and that their pass defense is. So maybe it's teams are just pounding the ball on them, but they can they got 2 safeties who aren't great at coverage. They got a linebacker and Werner. He's good at run defense, but not good in coverage. The cornerbacks, and Taylor at nickel spot is a guy who has decent coverage, but overall it's not really great. And if you look at the Brees and Shepard and Granderson, they're not very good. So this really leaves a lot of opportunity for the Dolphins. I think that they might have to run that football. It'd be interesting to see. Maybe their lack of run production is because teams are attacking them not to the edges but to the interior. Because if you look at the layout here and the skill set, it really says the interior run game is where you can affect them. Now, will McDaniel do that? Will he call a balanced inside and outside attack? Can the blocking create it? They should, despite the issues we say Strange and Savaianaya. Will he try to press the outside, and can he break this? I don't know. That's going to be very interesting. But overall, this defense has created some production. But if we balance this out, McDaniel does it right, I do think, because none of these guys, besides Young, can really test Strange and Savaianaya, who are the weak points. Brewer does a great job supporting them both. Whether it's Borum or Jackson, we'll see. And Paul's not getting pushed around. So, and the way Tua gets the ball out, I think that we've got to be balanced. And this is their strong point. If we break that, we break the game open. Now, here is what they're doing on offense. Shuck, you could see he's struggling with the deep ball. And that's good news for us. 2-11 deep right, 1 or 2 in the middle, not bad. 1 or 5 deep left. They are struggling. He is struggling to throw the ball deep. But you can see where he's really finding his success, and he's doing really well, is short middle, and to the rights. That's really where he plans to attack. That's going to put pressure on the safeties, on the linebackers, and I think we have the talent to deal with that. They got Olave, who's a darn good player, but not much else aside from him. So I don't think we should be afraid of anything they got, but they can get in rhythm, and that's really going to be the core areas. The fact that they can't attack deep, that might allow Weaver to do some more blitzing and not be so afraid, allow him to focus on a few areas and not worry about the big play. But this is the interesting part with Shuck. You see he's kept clean 65% of the time. But the speed of throw is 2.23, which is very quick, and there's still only 65%. The pressure is 35.5, although they're only blitz 25.4. You can see the yards per attempt, 6.6 is pretty low. But here's what's strange. Play action is only 14%, screens only 4.9. So they're not offering Shuck much help. They're saying, we're putting guys in routes, find the open guy, and deal with the pressure. Maybe they're testing him to see if he's worthy to be their guy, or they're going to use their top pick to draft a quarterback. But if they do this against us, I think we're going to get in there. We're going to pressure them. And I think this is another thing to add to the Dolphins' pool of reasons why they're going to win. So ultimately, I don't see the Dolphins, if everything works out normal, we're not totally insane and totally crazy and do stupid stuff, winning the game, getting us to 5-7, and then that will give us next week against the Jets, and then we get hopefully to 6-7, and you got 4 games to really test McDaniel too with his team, starting with that short week against the Steelers. I think this is a prep. This is a must win. It should win. If we don't win, I think McDaniel will have a huge hit to the reasons to bring him back, but we'll see. So, hope you enjoyed. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.